one of the things I think you're known for is social media, which is something that you've been doing for a long time. Can you kind of tell us about how you got into social media and maybe more particularly into Twitter and the creation of Appellate Twitter, the phenomenon that exists today?
Yeah, sure. So I have been involved on the internet for a very long time, even before I think people called it social media. But I was one of the original crop of law school bloggers that sort of arose in 2002, 2003. And I had a 1L law blog that I wrote when I was a law student that sort of it was anonymous, though everyone apparently figured out who I was very quickly. And I just sort of wrote about, going to class, exams, the professors, that kind of stuff. And I thought I was writing kind of a, 1L, the book. I guess it was Scott Turow or whoever wrote that book back in the day. So that's how I started. And I kept doing that until my clerkship when, the judge told me to knock it off, which I did. And then when I was at Cravath, I didn't do any blogging because I was too busy. So when I made this transition to appellate practice, I kind of missed the interaction online with people because even back in the blogging days, there was a lot of commentary. People could post comments under the blogs and you would respond, and blogs would fight with each other, hopefully civilly, but sometimes not. So I started looking around for what that outlet was going to be in the modern world. It turned out that was Twitter. So I went on Twitter, and then I thought, well, I need to find some appellate lawyers. And so I started searching around, and I found a bunch to begin with, including, I think the very first one I found was Jason Steed, a fellow Texas appellate lawyer, whose handle, I think, is Fifth Circuit Appeals. And so I thought, this guy must be someone I want to talk to. And Jason led me to a lot of the other people that I've gotten to know so well over the last few years, including you all, but also the folks in DC like Sean Murata and Jamie Santos and all those kind of people that have such a big presence on Twitter.
Well, I think you're underselling yourself a little bit, Rafi, because I think a lot of folks who are listening today will know you as the dean of Appellate Twitter, the hashtag. You want to tell us a little bit about how that phenomenon got started?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was definitely an accident. So again, I was looking around for something to do on Twitter with appellate practice. And I was getting to know these appellate lawyers across the country. And it turned out a few of them were having lunch in DC, I think at a Texas barbecue restaurant. And I was kind of jealous of them. I wished I was there so I would meet these cool people that I'd been reading about online. And so I tweeted something like, we in the provinces are jealous, hashtag appellate Twitter. And for whatever reason, that struck a chord. And now for 4 or 5 years or 3 years, whatever it is, people have been using the hashtag to organize a lot of discussions about appellate practice and judging and those kind of really interesting topics. And it's been amazing from my perspective in terms of letting me interact with great lawyers around the country and making friends. It's invaluable to me.
Yeah, kind of following you. It's interesting to see all the experiences you've had. I think the places you've gone, the people that you've interacted with, kind of the things that you've gotten to do. It's really cool that what started as essentially a little bit of a joke on social media turned into that. It's sort of like this podcast almost. That's kind of how we got started. A joke on a tweet kind of got turned into something, and here we are, however many episodes later, doing this.
Were you joking?
I was halfway joking before, and then Blake Hawthorne kind of pushed me into actually being serious, and here we are. So it's funny how that all works.
There's a lot of serendipity in social media. It seems like my tweet that has the most likes ever, it's something like 20,000 likes now, is literally the word "what" with 3 question marks. There's no originality in it. There's nothing. And yet that one caught fire. And, hashtag appellate Twitter is a bit like that. There's no reason why it ought to have caught fire the way it did, or it ought to have organized all these people into chatting about appellate practice, but it did, and it's great.
Yeah, it's an interesting community. And we were talking to Kendall Hanks and Kristen Vanderplas last week about this. And it's amazing that you have this little corner of Twitter, which can frankly be a cesspool if you dwell in the wrong areas, where you really have great supportive people who want to meet up in person and share tips and share work. And, you know, that's not something that's a common social media story. So it's really kind of cool that it exists.
No, it really isn't that common that people would be so friendly and helpful, but it's been amazing. I mean, the kinds of help I've gotten from social media, even in my practice over the last few years, is just mind-boggling. Like I would never have told you that you get that kind of just pro bono, free assistance on questions I might have, or people to bounce ideas off. It's really been remarkable.